In this video, we're going to be looking at a compact center column reference Bible, which is a new edition, new printing of this from Thomas Nelson in the New King James Version. And this particular one we're looking at is in the gray leather soft imitation leather cover. This particular one comes in a slipcase. The back tells you a little bit about the Bible. And this particular one retails for $59.99. You can, as I often say on these videos, get it cheaper than that online if you look, but that is the retail price. The font in this particular one is an 8-point size, and the name of this is compact. So it's saying that's a compact Bible. What that really means, it just depends on the publisher and what you're comparing to. But this is going to be obviously a smaller Bible. And I'm going to compare it also, as we go along, to an older Thomas Nelson NKJV, the Royal Reference Bible. So you can see what a Bible from the 80s that was a similar size, how that would compare to this Bible that we're looking at. To me, that's like the closest comparison. It's kind of interesting to see how they've changed over the years and also what's the same. It's classic format, center column reference, which we'll see. And looking at the outside here, first of all, this edition has a nice ornate looking spine to it. And I'll try in this lighting to give you a good look at it. It has black rectangles with that gray design. And you see here that the gray actually has a very subtle pattern to it, almost like a weaved pattern or a diagonal pattern. And it isn't like a perfectly even pattern. And I don't know if you can see it there, but it's almost like little boxes, little tiny boxes. And then the front here also says Holy Bible. The spine, again, ornate looking, has Holy Bible, NKJV, Thomas Nelson. And the back actually does give you the ISBN information. It's perimeter stitched. And as I said, it has some sort of a pattern to it, so it gives it a little bit more of a coarse texture. And I would say it doesn't really look like leather. It has more of a, I don't know, kind of a hard vinyl feel to it. Might be the way to describe it. But it is sturdy feeling, which I think is really good. And I like the color scheme. The page edges are gold gilt page edges, and the ribbons here, you have two angle cut ribbons. One is black, looks like it is double-sided, and then one is red. Now I will say this red ribbon actually was miscut. So it actually has a pointy end to it rather than the angle cut, which it's supposed to have. So that's the kind of thing on some of these Bibles that will happen. If you were really particular, you probably could get this sent back and exchanged. But this, for review purposes, just shows you how this one turned out. I do like the color scheme, though. It also looks like it has probably a black head and tail band there. And the spine has a little bit of a curved spine to it. And you can see here how that's curved on the text block. But the most important thing is as you get into the Bible, you'll see how this is laid out and constructed. It is a paper paste down, so not super sturdy. In my opinion, for $60, I do wish this was something more vinyl. Has a presentation page here on a cardstock type paper. Then you have title page and a publisher title page. And as you look at the contents page, or I should say, let's look first at the copyright page, you'll see here that it's actually printed in India, 2023. So as I'm recording this, this is a newly printed edition. It's the first printing, printed in 2023. And it's interesting that it's printed in India. You are seeing now more Thomas Nelson Bibles. I think Zondervan too probably are going to be printed outside of China, it seems like. I believe that's what I've seen recently, is they're moving out of China to some other places. So you might see Korea, and in this instance you have India. Still not seeing a lot of US printings, which it would be really neat to see that in the future. But this one's India. Here's the contents page. You have Bible book abbreviations, preface to the New King James Version. And this actually is just the condensed preface. Some Bibles have the full preface. This is a condensed one. You just have really one page here. But then they have how to use this reference Bible on the next couple pages. And then the Old Testament title page. And this is going to be in the Comfort Print. I like the way that they've developed this in the newer printings. I think the titles actually look better than in the original Comfort Print NKJV Bibles. I think it has more of a formal look, which goes along more with the New King James Version. The titles in the New King James are more of a full title. The first book of Moses called, and then in large print, Genesis. You have section headings here in all caps. And underneath the section heading, I do see there are some cross-references, references that go along with this section. But then in the center column, you also have cross-references with specific verses. And you have translator notes as well in the center column. This is an 8-point font, double column, verse-by-verse format. When you have a new paragraph, it will be in a bold verse. So that designates the new paragraph when you see the bold verse number. And it's line matched. So that really helps with ghosting and readability, to have the lines on this page match with the lines on the other side of the page. Much less distracting than older printed Bibles. Also nice margin space. Not so much for writing in, but just to give the page a more open look and feel to it. And also the line spacing to me looks really nice. I feel like these newer printed Bibles from Thomas Nelson just have a very organized, clean look to them. And as you can see, I'm holding it here. It's compact. So not super small. It reminds me a little bit of like a personal size Quentel Bible. But it's definitely portable, which is really the point of this. It's not pocket size, though. It's not going to really fit in most pockets, but definitely great for carrying with you. I'm going to get into the middle of the Bible here so you can take a look at the poetry. And again, that line matching really helps with readability. To me, looks very pleasant, and as long as you're okay with like an 8-point size, which for a compact Bible I think is just fine, this is actually really a readable Bible for something that you can carry so easily. The poetry looks nice. It's in stanza setting, whereas the prose is going to be just in your typical verse-by-verse format. But you see a poetry here, stanza setting. Prose, you have verse by verse without stanzas. And a lot of people like this. If they're used to the older editions of the Bible, having those verses separated out like that is preferable to a lot of people. And New King James is a more historic-based translation. So I think the verse by verse really fits well with it, although they also have other editions of the Bible that are paragraph format. Getting through here, we'll get to the New Testament, which you have a title page for that. And as you get into the New Testament, you'll see the words of Christ are red letter. The red letter looks very nice. One feature I like about this is that they print the verses in black, even if there's red letter for the words of Christ. To me, that just I don't know, there's consistency there, and the verses themselves are not the words of Christ. So I like that they have the verse numbers black throughout. And getting through the New Testament, after the book of Revelation, you have a Bible reading plan with check boxes, so you can read through the Bible in a year. Then you have a sheet here, Prayers of the Bible, actually multiple pages with Prayers of the Bible, so that is really nice. I like how they have them separated out by subject. And then you have your concordance. After the concordance, you have some note pages here, just blank pages, but you have several of them in which to write some notes. I like that they print that at the top of the page. So just good use of some extra pages they have there. A note regarding the type, and then your Thomas Nelson Zondervan maps in the back here on kind of a semi-gloss cardstock paper. Beautifully printed, nice colors to them, as always, in these Bibles. And then you have that paper end sheet with the same design that you see over here on the paste down side. The most important thing, though, are the features in this Bible, that you can carry it easily and you still have the entire Bible with a good sized text and all of those cross references and translator notes in the center column. Very classic format. You even see that you have the lines separating the notes and cross references from the Bible text, which is what you see in older Bibles. So let's take a look at an older Bible. This is called the Nelson Royal Reference Bible. And this is what it looks like. It's actually pretty similar in size to the compact reference Bible that we've been looking at. And that's one reason I wanted to show it. Both of these are from Thomas Nelson. And let me look at some Old Testament prose here just to kind of get a comparison for you. Both of these fonts, from when I checked them, are actually very similar in size. Both would be around an 8-point font. In my opinion, I think that the newer edition reads more easily. The design of the font and the line matching really, I think, improve readability and make it more comfortable to read. Although you can see on the right here that it is a nice bold font. And so some people really, really love that kind of a look. But one advantage I will say about the new Bible for sure is they're consistent in the font size. This older one, when you get to the poetry, they actually reduce the font size. Now that does allow the poetry to have more words per line, but overall I think that just makes it even harder to read if you have any problems at all with reading smaller font. So there's nice consistency with the font size in the newer one. When you get to the New Testament, I'll show you the red letter in both of these Bibles. And the red letter in this particular one is good. I will say older printings, it's really hit or miss. And over the years, in recent years especially, they've done a lot better with consistency in printing red letter, especially in Thomas Nelson prints. And I would say this one seems pretty consistent to me. The one on the left here, though, the older one, looks pretty good overall. But this one's line matched. So with red letter, another problem is you might get distracted with what's on back, especially if it's darker print on the back. This one being line matched on the right here just continues to have a nice, clean, readable look to it. One other thing I will mention here has to do with quotes for the Old Testament that are in the New Testament. And you'll see actually when you look at older NKJVs, if I can find an example here, that the Old Testament quotes are in an oblique font. It's not technically italic, I don't think, but it is a font that's shifted a little bit. It's slanted to just stand out and show you that this is an Old Testament quote in the New Testament. So let's take a look at something similar in the newer edition. And so you see when you compare these two, that in the newer one right here, It's no longer in an oblique font. Now that particular quote is it stands out from the rest of the text because it's a longer quote, but I really like that even if it's in the paragraph, if it's quoting the Old Testament, you'll see that difference in font style in the older NKJVs. That's something that Nelson, for whatever reason, has gotten away from. I think the exception, though, Schuyler Quintel's still print the NKJV with oblique font, I believe, for the quotes in the New Testament from the Old Testament. But all the other features that you're used to, capitalized pronouns for deity, and italicized words that are supplied words in English, you're going to see that in this NKJV. Really nice offering from Thomas Nelson. Of course, they offer so many different styles and editions of the New King James. And this is another one that I'm sure will appeal to a lot of people. If you have any questions or comments about this Bible, I'd love to see that in the comment section below. But thank you so much for taking a look at this with me from a Frisch perspective.